This pillar is our second week cinema, and we are talking about a movie that I initially did not want to see. We're talking about Netflix original Horse Girl. Did you hear anything about this before the movie came out?
Dude, not only did I not hear about this before the movie came out, which was 2020, I didn't hear about this movie until you texted me and said, what about Horse Girl?
Really?
Yeah, wait, why did you pick it if you didn't want to see it?
Because I know you're into spooky movies, and I heard it was really good, but I didn't... it looked scary to me from the trailer, so I was not really up my alley, but I was like, I know Tyler likes scary movies, and it's been a minute since we did a scary one, and I kind of picked the last one, so I wanted to make sure I got something up your alley.
Okay, did you know somebody that had seen it?
Yeah, I know. No, I don't know if I saw him that saw it, but I heard good things about it. Like Matt said, it was doing good things. And then I saw good articles about it too.
The trailer, listen, I would have not picked Horse Girl. That would not have been the title that I would have given this film.
No, no.
There's no way to rank that. It has nothing to do with our rating of the film. They classify it, or it's classified as a psychological drama. But it's funny because Netflix says it's heartfelt. I don't know where it was I don't know where it was heartfelt.
I don't know where it was heartfelt.
I watched the trailer as well when you pitched it to me, and I was getting spooky vibes too, which I think is a little misleading. I think psychological drama is very accurate.
Yes.
So this is a type of movie that is very difficult to do a summary of, but I will try.
Do your best.
So it's about a woman named Sarah who works at a craft store, has a horse, loves this horse, Willow, that no longer belongs to her, and she lives in an apartment with a roommate. And due to her family history with her mother and her grandmother, she starts having hallucinations, and she starts kind of losing her grip on reality and starts expecting there to be extraterrestrial foul play. Yeah?
I think that was pretty good. I think it was pretty good.
I mean, it's not. This is not an easy movie to summarize.
No.
But if that makes it intriguing, then I did a good job. So that is the summary. So let us dive into our second week. Oh yeah, nope, yep.
One more thing.
What are you doing?
We did. So this is the first time we didn't see a movie like in the same room as each other, and we used Netflix Party, which worked really well for us.
I enjoyed it because I was worried that if we did this Google Hangouts, if I was focusing on you and focusing like auditorially, auditorial
wise,
I was listening. Yeah, if I was listening to you and listening to the movie, I feel like but the chat box that they have on the right there, was cool.
It worked really well for us. I recommend.
Netflix Party. It's a Google Chrome extension.
Yeah, it's a plugin.
It only is working. I was hoping you could do it on PS4 or something, but it's only Chrome, I believe. Right?
I don't think it's only Chrome, but I think it has to be on a laptop.
That's right. You're right. I use it as a Chrome extension. But yeah, so that's what we used, and we chose Netflix. We both have it. We picked a new movie. It's not new to Netflix, but an old movie. This is a 2020 film. It was at Sundance, right?
It was at Sundance, yeah.
So you know what we're getting into. It's right up that A24 Uncut Gems Midsummer alley, in my opinion. So let me do this again, because why not? We will be using the PAC scale to rate this film, and that will include PPACD, which is plot, pacing, acting, cinematography, and dialogue. And once we rate the movie based on our scores, each one is 0 to 5 for a minimum of 0, a grand total of 50, it will be ranked either as the highest level, Caviar and Dry Wine, the second level, Michael Jordan, third level, Come See Come Saw, fourth level, Not Feeling It, or the fifth and worst level, Fuck Outta Here. So with that said, let us jump into our review of Horse Girl.
Plot. Story of this movie, I think for me, it didn't work as well as I thought it could have. You gave a really good summary. I thought that was very good. I'm not sure. It was really ambiguous. And you said we're living in an ambiguous time for movies wise. And that's true, but I thought it was really vague. I wanted a couple more answers. They could have sewed up some loose ends that I thought were just too loose.
It's like it's lending itself to that type of arbitrary, or as you put it, ambiguous where it's like, think about the ending of Midsummer. Like, we're far enough away now that I'm going to say the ending, where it's like, she just kind of looks off into the camera smiling, and they're like, well, how does she feel, or what does she mean, or is she accepting them, or they, it's one of those movies that's like, well, how do you interpret it? You know what I mean? It's one of those movies. Hopefully that's not spoiling, but it's going to come down to your own personal interpretation on how reliable of a narrator Sarah is.
I think that's fair too. There's a certain point where it shifts from like, oh yeah, she's totally, oh, she's not fine. This is not fine.
Yeah, there's a couple moments. It keeps you hooked. If I can give the plot any type of credit, and that makes it sound bad, but if there's any type of credit that I can give the plot, you are hooked.
Yes, you are.
I was hooked. Yeah, you might not love the ending, but I was hooked. Here's how it kind of felt to me plot-wise. I feel like, and I told you this, I don't know if I told you this in our Netflix party chat, or maybe just talking, whatever. Like, the first act of a film is the easiest. That's when you just start setting stuff up. Like, Pixar is amazing at setting things up and then tying it together at the end. They don't go for the ambiguous. But this felt like an overly ambitious Act 1, but they bit off more than they can chew. And I apologize if I start dipping into spoiler territory, but I'm gonna name some of the things that get brought up in the first act. So there's the horses. There's her craft job. She starts seeing these creepy scratch marks around certain areas. There's this focus on drains and plumbing. She meets this oracle who tells her to make an appointment with her. She starts dating this guy, and she starts going off into the weeds with the idea of extraterrestrial aliens and cloning. And that is a ton of things to keep you very, very, very engaged in Act 1, Act 2, and even through Act 3. But I felt like they bit off more than they can chew, because there are things that are left desired.
Yes.
And the whole time, I'm excited to see how this thing comes together, how they tie things together. One thing that really bothered me, and I even mentioned it to you in the chat, it was the Chekhov thing. And I'm not saying this is the most important thing, but Chekhov says if you introduce a gun in Act 1, it has to be shot or whatever in the Act 2. And that's more of a play thing. She's introduced to this oracle who gives her this bizarre thing to burn. What is it? You said it's like a $20...
It's a $20 sage stick.
So yeah, a sage stick with a business card. And this is early on. It's like foreshadowing. She's like, here, take this. You know, I do palm readings and stuff. You should make an appointment. And she ends up burning the sage, but we never see that woman again.
Yeah, they didn't follow that storyline through.
No, and that's just a minor thing, but that sets the stage for all these other potential loose ends.
Yes.
So I think it felt like a very, very engaging, ambitious plot that it was just too big. It was too big for this movie. The ending does not match the hype, in my opinion.
I agree. There's this whole section of the end. I'm not going to give anything away, but it's just like, I text you. I was like, what is happening?
The Peach Ninja?
Yes. Yeah.
The Peach Ninja.
From like this certain point to, I think, the end, you're just like, what's going to happen? What does this mean?
Yes. But that pulls you along, but then once the credits roll, you're kind of like, oh. But I feel like there's a large amount of people that like the ambiguous endings. Like, I feel like that's kind of what we're diving into now. The indie films, the artsy films, it's like, well, how do you interpret the ending? And I feel like some people like that, and that's fine. I don't mind it, but I wish it would have been more tied together.
I agree. So I guess we're at the point. What did you score it?
Yeah, go ahead. No, what did you give it?
I gave it a 2 for the plot.
I gave it a 3.
Okay, I think that's fair.
So that is a score of 5.
Pacing.
So this movie is 103 minutes long, and I could have probably watched another 30 or 40 minutes in anticipation of a better ending. But I'm like, as much as I'm hitting the ending left something to be desired, I loved the beginning. Like, it was so ambitious, but if you give this like an Irishman length of like 4 hours, then we can start tying some of this stuff together. I thought the pacing was excellent, because for it being a long movie, I was hooked the entire way through. When it ended, I wanted more. not just because I wanted a better ending, but because I think more could have been done. The slow moments didn't take me out. They were necessary. Some of the faster moments just had a good pace where, crazy things were happening. But it's interesting because this was the first time we were in a movie theater. I had a laptop on my lap, and we were chatting. But I don't know. How did you feel? For me, the pacing felt very good.
I'm starting to learn that horror movies from you take longer.
I wouldn't call it. But do you think this is a horror movie?
No, okay, but no, it's more. I mean, it scared me. There were scary moments. It didn't really scare me that much, I guess. But I thought it was a horror movie coming in. If that
there was scary imagery. Like there are these, whether or not they're real, they do show some things, and they're creepy.
Yes. My point is, I'm learning that these kinds of movies take more time on purpose. That being said, I thought the pacing for this movie was excellent. Like you said, I don't think it dragged at all. I don't think it rushed anywhere. I thought it was like where it sped up, it made sense, and where it slowed down, it makes sense, but it didn't keep us there too long. There's a lot of cringe. I think that hurt the pace a little bit for me.
Those awkward scenes where you're like, oh God,
yes.
Oh God, oh God.
Yeah.
The fast forward scenes.
Yes. Yeah. The scenes where you fast forward. But I think. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the pacing felt good because of how unnatural the film was, because she's a completely unreliable narrator. Like, she'll open a shower curtain and then all of a sudden she's at her craft store. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When you have segues like that, transitions where, she looks at the clock, it's 11:04, then this crazy creepy thing happens outside and she goes back and she looks and it's 11:04. Like that type of a thing. I feel like the weirdness and the unreliability made the pacing that much more extreme because they didn't have to waste their time transitioning. Like, this girl's crazy. You want to be in the apartment? Boom, we're in the apartment. You want to be in the shower? Boom, we're in the shower. I think that helps. It kind of lends itself to the pacing.
I agree. I thought the pacing was really well done.
I gave it a 5 out of 5.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Okay. So that is a score of 9, which puts us at 14.
Acting.
So I think Sarah was actually a really good actor. She had so much to think about as an actor, but I don't think she got lost in herself. I thought she was very focused on what she was doing. And I think that made her perform very well.
Yeah.
She had a lot of crazy movements to do, but I think she executed it very well.
So the actress that played Sarah, her name is Alison Brie, and the whole time we're watching this movie and I'm listening to her talk, I'm like, who is she? Because she didn't look like, she looked familiar enough, like she could pass for somebody I recognize, but it wasn't striking. But her voice, I was listening to her voice, I'm like, who is she? Who is she? And then as soon as we were done watching it, I had to look her up. I was like, what do I know her from? She is the character Diane in BoJack Horseman.
Oh, cool.
Have you ever watched BoJack?
Not really. I mean, I've seen the first episode twice.
Okay. So I followed it. I'm a pretty big fan. But yeah, she's Diane from BoJack Horseman. So I thought that was really cool. So there's this character I'm used to putting that voice to. So then I got to see her in a live action film. So that was pretty cool. But going back to what you said, I agree completely. It's not an ensemble cast in my opinion. Like, there's the boyfriend, there's the roommate, the roommate's boyfriend, and some other random stragglers. The movie centers around Sarah, Alison Brie's character, and she does a phenomenal job. She holds your hand through this crazy, crazy, ridiculous, unnerving story, and you're just right there with her. She does a great job acting. Emotionally, she does a great job acting. Her we'll get to dialogue, but her dialogue was great. It's cool because sometimes you have her perspective where things are making sense on her end, but then she'll be in a one-on-one scene with like her therapist or her roommate, and she just seems so crazy, and you're just like, in the chat, you'd be like, oh, she's gone, or she's, But I like those. She did a really good job. She would say something crazy about the aliens and the cloning, and then you could see the doctor or whoever just slightly be like, maybe you should consider talking to someone. But she has such a good like self-awareness in that moment where she's like, oh, he doesn't believe me, he doesn't get it. It's kind of like that, like, it's not like that crazy person that doesn't realize they're crazy. Like, I think she gets to that point eventually, but there are moments leading up to that good gradual growth where she's like, oh, they think I'm crazy, this isn't somebody I can trust, never mind, thank you, I'm out, thank you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was done really well.
I agree with that. I agree. She did that build for crazy really good. I didn't clock this. Stephanie told me she was watching too. She saw the roommate, I guess, is a Disney darling or something. Like she was on Disney Channel.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I thought she was.
I'm not familiar.
I'm not either. But Stephanie told me that. The rest of the cast, I thought they weren't, like you said, it's not an ensemble role, but they supported well enough.
Yeah, the boyfriend was quirky. You know, another one of those get high scenes. I know This isn't a kid's movie, but you gotta have it. I loved the roommate's boyfriend because he was such a dick.
Yes, I know. He was great.
But, I mean, it's like they don't take away from the film. They're not there to add to it. They don't take away. And Alison Brie portraying Sarah, I think, kills it. What did you give acting?
I give it a 5.
I gave it a 4. So that is a score of 9, which puts us at 23. We are now at the bottom of Come See Come Saw. So we moved out of fuck out of here. We moved out of not feeling it. So now we're in the middle ground.
Cinematography.
There were some cool shots. There were some cool shots. Her dream sequences are very, very creepy. I think part of it has to do with sound. There was like a sound that they would do, like in her dreams. If they're dreams, we don't know if they're dreams or not. But there was like this like scratchy, otherworldly sound that they would make when she looked around her and like these things that were in there with her. That was done really cool. There was like a really subtle moment that reminded me of Insidious early on. And I'm not going to give it away because I think it's the only time that I remember it happens. But it's like, it's a cool thing where they plant something in the background, and if you catch it, cool, and if you don't catch it, then you get surprised with the main character. Or not the main character, but a character. So that was done really well. There are some really cool shots where it's like, you got a wall in the middle of the frame, and she's over in the lightness, and then a guy's leaving in the darkness, and that's really cool. The jump shots are okay. It's not the most beautifully shot film you're ever going to see in your life. It's very indie. It's very artsy. I'll leave it at that for now. What did you think about the cinematography?
See, I really liked the jump shots because I thought they added to understanding that Sarah was not a reliable narrator. They worked to show the audience that maybe everything isn't what it appears to be.
Yeah.
I think they added a lot to the dialogue of not the talking, but like the dialogue between the audience and the film. And it added, like I said, it added showing that Sarah is not with it. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
It also it was used for foreshadowing.
Yes.
Like the claw marks, the focusing on drains and water. They did use the shots as a good opportunity to kind of lead you down a certain trail or path. So that was done well. I'm trying to think if there's any like wide shots or anything that stuck out to me. I don't know.
I don't think they varied a lot of shots. I think it was a lot of chest up shots.
There's a cool shot where she's like, I feel like that, like when she was cutting the fabric and like there was going into clones. There was some symbolism.
There's a couple transition shots that are really cool, like going in from a scene to another scene and then it connects later.
Yeah. I love when she's like running away and she's grabbing that peach fabric and it's just like pulling across the screen. That was a pretty cool shot. Man, I feel like I'm not justifying my scoring well enough for this, and I apologize if it makes it seem like I'm just throwing out a random number. Because when I was watching it, I really did appreciate the cinematography. It's not my highest score. I don't think I don't think it could hit 5 for me because I think I'd be able to justify it more or have more to say if it was a 5. But there were a lot of really good shots. That one where you see the back of the horse, which was a very weird tie-in. Because it's one of the first, like, in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes you see this, and then it comes at the end, and it's like, but that's another thing it bites off in this film, is it talks about time travel.
Yeah.
Time travel.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, there's just too much going on in this movie. Do you have more to say before you
No,
score?
we can score it.
Okay. I gave it a 4.
I give it a 3.
Okay. That is a score of 7, which keeps us in Come See Come Saw with a score of 30.
Dialogue.
So this movie has a lot of fun quotes. I know that's not the best way to quote to judge dialogue, but that's how we've been doing it. And I'm going to stay in that lane because there's so many fun things that get said in this movie that stick in your head. You want to say something?
I wonder if this movie has the advantage of that because we were openly writing and talking to each other during it. Like, I wonder if during some of the other movies, if we were able to write things down, if there would have been more quotes.
I was writing stuff down in the other movies on my phone. And
you're pulling your phone out in the middle of the theater?
I mean, yeah, don't shame me for it. But Jesus.
I'm shaming you. Shame on you.
It was really low. No, it wasn't like I was...
You probably completely ruined the experience for a couple moviegoers.
Oh, yeah, and Rambo, we were the only person there.
Imagine how many people that was their first experience watching a movie and you ruined it. They're probably never going to go back.
Anyway, I thought there were a lot of good lines. Maybe it does. But you know what? It took advantage of that advantage because I thought it killed it with dialogue.
Do you have some lines that are your favorite?
Yeah. I know it's pretty basic, but the boyfriend goes, "I'm a paralegal." And the one she says, like, he says it like right before the line. He goes, "Are we gonna dig up your mom with a pair of scissors?
Are we gonna dig up your mom with scissors?"
Yes.
That's my top quote. Because I didn't even think about it until then when she was freaking out. I'm like, wait a minute, she does only have scissors. Wait, she never got her results back, did she?
No, from the DNA.
And another loose end.
Yep.
Another loose end. They get someone during the high scene. They're dancing. Sarah and her soon-to-be, well, not really boyfriend, person she was talking to. I have nowhere else to put this. She watches this paranormal Purgatory show.
Purgatory.
That it's like, it's where it inspires her to go down like a crazy path. But then there's like a sex scene, and then all of a sudden she's having sex with one of the characters from that movie or that TV show. Very bizarre. But anyways, when they're getting high and dancing, the roommate's boyfriend says it looks like they're belly dancing with centaurs. I thought that was a good line. And then there was like a subtle innuendo where it seems like she's coming on to this older guy at this plumbing store, but she really just wants to get to know him for other reasons. But it seems like she's coming on to him, and he does plumbing and stuff. So he just kind of looks up at her and he's like, "Oh, you really want those pipes, huh?" And I'm just like, oh gosh. But it's one of those cringe scenes where it's like, how much did she pay him? Like $900 up front? $1,000 up front. Just put $100 bills on the thing, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, okay, tomorrow, yeah." I thought, oh man, when she tells the doctor, and she's just having this conversation, she's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking of getting some tests done, blood works. Do you have a test that can see if I'm a clone?" But just that most like, it was good nonchalant.
Delivery. It was really good delivery.
And that doctor killed it. I loved that doctor. That's how I want my doctor to be, because he was so patient and kind with her.
Yeah,
it was a quotable movie. Action, in my opinion, does not. There are action scenes. There are scenes where physical activity pushes the scene along. But I would say more than anything that the movie is pushed along through narrative and dialogue. And I think if you don't consider how well they tie things together, the narrative succeeds and the dialogue very, very much succeeds.
I agree.
That's my summary of that. Yeah.
What did you score?
Oh man, I'm stuck. I wrote down a 4, but I'm leaning 5. You know what? No, Nope, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm giving the dialogue a 5.
I gave it a 5 too. It was really good.
That is a score of 10, which puts our final score for Netflix's Horse Girl at 40 out of 50, wow. Which is Michael Jordan. Ooh. Not quite the best. Second best. Michael Jordan. The film was directed and produced by Jeff Baena. I don't know anything about him.
Oh, I do. That's the dude who made Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
He made Nightcrawler?
Yes, he did.
Is that 2014? Huh?
Oh shit! Let me double check. No, I lied. That was Velvet Buzzsaw. I watched that the other night. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Velvet Buzzsaw?
No,
Nightcrawler.
Well, I can't say it's not a good movie. I haven't seen it. I'm saying Nightcrawler is a good
Nightcrawler
movie.
is a killer movie. Nothing to do with what we're talking about. Ignore me.
Yeah. Yes. Any final thoughts on the film? I recommend it. Obviously, we gave it a 40 out of 50. Do you recommend it to people?
I'm glad we watched it, but I feel like you could have done like one more rewrite at the end.
Yeah, I think they went too hard on the indie artsy instead of I don't think, like, when they were in the writer room or on the table, I don't think anybody raised their hand and was like, "Do you think the viewer's going to be satisfied at the end?" Or he did and they fired him.
Yeah.
Even though he probably wasn't making any money anyway. So that is our review of Netflix's Horse Girl.